The behavior described in yesterday's Washington Post article has no place in our franchise or society. This story has strengthened my commitment to setting a new culture and standard for our team, a process that began with the hiring of Coach Rivera earlier this year. Both Beth Wilkinson and her firm are empowered to do a full, unbiased investigation and make any and all requisite recommendations. Upon completion of our work, we will institute new policies and procedures and strengthen our human resources infrastructure to not only avoid these issues in the future, but most importantly, create a team culture that is respectful and inclusive of all. Now, Booger McFarland still here with us. So, Booger, I want to start with you and ask what your reaction is to Dan Snyder's statement that, as I just said, came just moments ago.
About time. I mean, I think we were all waiting on this statement to come. It should have come a lot sooner. Nevertheless, it did come. I think what we have here is I think America is looking at this situation in totality. First, you have the Redskins name, which we've been dealing with for a number of years. And then comes this Washington Post article with the 15 women alleging all the harassment that was going on. And I think it's just a culture in Washington, D.C., particularly in that organization there, that a lot of people have had issues with for a long time. And this article may have just been, the straw that broke the camel's back. We see that some of the minority owners have been trying to sell, and the longtime play-by-play voice from radio, he resigned abruptly. I think there is an aura, there is an environment there that has not breeded success, that has not breeded welcoming for you to come in and do your job and not worry about the outside noise for a long time. And I applaud Mr. Snyder for finally coming out and saying something, but quite frankly, it's just too late. Anytime your organization is under attack, anytime your business, the one that you are responsible for, the one that you are the owner of, is under attack, it should not take as long as it did for him to come out and put a statement. Quite frankly, Ron Rivera has been the face so far of the Washington Redskins, and I think people have a very respectful nature. People respect Ron Rivera, and I think we want to hear from Ron Rivera based on his integrity and his character a lot more than we want to hear from Daniel Snyder, and that speaks volumes since one is the head coach and the other is the owner of the team.
Well, listen, it's one thing to put out a statement. It's another thing to address everything. And far too long with the Washington football team, their organization, they've had incident after incident happen, going back to 2018 with the cheerleader incident down in Costa Rica. And now, with the changing of the name and now this Washington Post article that dropped yesterday where, Dan Snyder seems like he's been in a bunker. And we talk about, toxic environments where toxic environments usually start because of toxic management. And it starts at the top with Daniel Snyder. And I praise Ron Rivera for coming into a situation and being kind of the face and being the focal point to turn the situation around. But Ron Rivera shouldn't have to be doing these type of things. He's the football coach. He should be focusing on the football aspect, the football side of the football team, and not, anything that happened before him. For us to just now hear from Dan Snyder is an abomination, to be quite honest with you, and it contrasts what the Dallas with Mark Cuban and what the Dallas Mavericks did, and Mark Cuban when the allegation came up with his organization, the first thing he did was, just stand up in front of everyone and say, you know what, this is unacceptable what's been going on with our organization. And he was very frank and forward and he was speaking to the media about everything that, the changes that he was going to implement with his organization. So listen, a statement is the least that Dan Snyder could do. Right now, I think people have more questions and answers as it relates to the Washington Redskins organization. I think he needs to put himself out there.
Yeah, I think the most important steps that they need to take now, the press release is one thing. He needs to open himself up to questions like that. You need to answer questions so we can get a full understanding of what your role has been and how you feel about the things that have transpired, and be able to ask specific questions from journalists who have been, hopefully, the journalists who uncovered this story. But frankly, any journalist at this point, he needs to open himself up to those questions. I think that's the first step. And the next step is probably, I think, we need to find a way to make sure that Beth Wilkinson and her firm, who are doing the investigation, are without any compromised situation or even the appearance of being compromised. Because, again, I don't know her or know her firm. I suspect that she is of the utmost integrity. But in situations like this, what is just as important as being independent is the perception of independence. So you do not want to allow there to be any opportunity for anyone to say that the evidence that comes out of this investigation is not valid. And as soon as you see that the final check comes from Dan Snyder or from the Washington franchise, you can have the perception that this investigation was not completely independent. So if it's the NFL stepping in to bring in another firm, or the NFL stepping in to be the ones who pay Beth Wilkinson and her firm, I think someone else needs to be responsible for conducting and financing this investigation. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for anybody to believe the results of it, no matter how much integrity the firm has. I think those are the two most important steps that I would like to see take place going forward. And the first step is an easy one. Dan Snyder needs to sit in front of a camera or sit in front of a journalist and answer these questions.
Well, to your point, Dom, let's be fair to Daniel Snyder. I'm pretty sure there's some legal ramifications where he can't just stand up in front of a podium and just answer all type of questions. So in order to be fair to him, right, I don't think he could probably do it. I'm not a lawyer, but I would bet he can't do that based on all the allegations that have come up.
Those questions are easy to avoid. You make that comment, but I do think that there are plenty of questions that he can answer. And it's not just about this particular incident. I think it's about, he never came out and answers questions about the history of the name of the franchise. And I think it's easy to say, well, because of this ongoing investigation, this particular question I do not want to answer. But I think the rest of the questions you certainly can answer, and you can come out and be outspoken and forceful about the things that you're comfortable answering. And I think that's a step that needs to be taken.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.